Hi, I'm Rachel Abbasi. Welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. As always, thanks for spending time with me.
Hi, today we have a topic that promises to enlighten us all. The topic is, it's kind of related to yesterday. Let's see if I can articulate it properly. So, yesterday we talked about people pleasing. Today, I want to talk about this pressure that I feel when I want to do something and I feel like I need to do that thing, but intellectually, I know that that thing is going to make me feel worse. My disability, the chronic pain, the discomfort that I feel in my head. Um, I was talking to my psychiatrist about this earlier this week, and she said, Rachel, you have proven over and over that you can do these things, but it is really you're harming yourself when you do them. So I said, well, I have this it's almost like this obsessive pressure that I need to do the thing. How do I not do the thing when I feel that compulsion inside? Still knowing, I'm fully aware it's going to hurt my head. So, how do I resolve that within me? So, it's what she recommended was that I use a emotion and feeling wheel. Okay. So she sent me one and it looks like this. And what I did was, so if you recall, those of you that are lifetime listeners, um, if you recall, in like the first year and maybe some into the second year, I talked a lot about, and I'd like to talk about it more again and bring this back to the surface, talked about the emotional color wheel and how we have uh, primary, secondary, and tertiary emotions. And I really like to talk about this because what I feel sometimes, and I try to give a name to, like the emotion, often it's not exactly what the emotion is, if that makes sense. I don't even know what I'm feeling. So when she brought up this emotion and feeling wheel, I thought, yeah, that's right down the alley of my podcast I'd like to talk about. And I forget sometimes that what I feel may not be exactly what I think I'm feeling. Because it I mean, we really need to honor the fact that human beings are extremely complex. And as much as we don't always know or be able to give a name to what we're feeling, we can be feeling multiple things at one time. So, feeling multiple tertiary emotions, which are actually rooted in a primary emotion, to be able to trace those all back to what exactly am I feeling, that's when I can address it and do something about it. So, this topic really crosses over for me as I looked at what emotions apply to this situation. It crosses over with this topic that I wanted to cover at some point, which is the worst thing that can happen is nothing. Because one of the emotions that I feel in this type of a situation is worry. and anxiety. So it's interesting to look at that and then recognize that a lot of the time the worst thing that happens is far less dramatic than what my nervous system is predicting. You know, sometimes the worst thing that can happen is actually nothing. There's no catastrophe, there's no collapse of civilization, there's no marching band, you know, playing that Rachel has disappointed us all. It's really just discomfort. And then it's just, that's reality, you know, that it is what it is. And I hate that saying, but it may be something that I need to consider more because maybe it is what it is means there's no drama here. It just is. So, what I was explaining to my psychiatrist was that things like my podcast, I used to record every single day, and I did that for like 3 years. And maybe I skipped like, I mean, a handful in those years. And part of it was because I felt the same commitment to my podcast as I do to my sobriety program. And I feel like I need it, you know? I feel like I need to come here and talk about what's going on between Rachel's ears on a daily basis because it's different. It's fluid. Every day there's something else going on between my ears. So when I would not do it, I felt this deja vu, sorry. I felt this intense pressure to do it, even though I wasn't physically well enough to do it. And so this year and last year, I've been making it a point to listen to my body, like I was talking about a few episodes ago, and and talk myself out of like that urgent, responsible, necessary feeling that I had to do the episode. And my psychiatrist was asking, well, why do you feel like you need to do the episode? And I said that, and I kind of laugh at myself when I say this, but I said because I feel like people are counting on it. And I didn't make that up. There are lots of folks that told me that even strangers, you know, there's a lot of people that I don't know who listen now, and I really appreciate you, and I want to not let anybody down. So lots of folks told me that I had become or have become part of their daily routine. So in the morning, they would listen to whatever I posted the night before. I often would post, and I still do a lot of times, post the episode right before I go to bed. So folks will listen to it when they are getting ready in the morning. And so for me not to record, I feel like a friend who's not showing up for a coffee date. That's what I feel like. So that's what I was explaining, although I explained it a little better now than I did to my psychiatrist. Um, that's what I was explaining to her, that I feel like for people who are trying to get sober or stay sober, I don't want to be the consistent thing that doesn't show up for them. Um, and and then they go out and drink. And as soon as I say that, I know that I am other people's sobriety is not dependent on me. Like, I know all of these things. I'm just talking to her about how I feel. And so I was talking around it, and that's why I was saying some of these things that I knew weren't true, like somebody else's sobriety depends on them being able to hear me talk. I realized that that is not realistic, nor is it true. But I couldn't explain what I was feeling. So she said, "How about we get out the color wheel, the emotion and feeling wheel, and we really look at what it is that you're feeling. The next time you feel this way, highlight on the feeling wheel what it is that you're feeling." So this feeling wheel in particular is from the Junto Institute. That's Junto for Enterprise Leadership. The Junto Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership. But there's also a couple other color wheels, and if you're looking at the video, I'm showing a couple of them. This one is a lot less detailed, and this one hurts my eyes, so I really can't use this one. And I think it's because it's way more sporadic and I have to move my eyes more. But the one that I really like, just like my psychiatrist, has a lot more emotions that I can identify with. So this is the one I used this morning. So slowing down and really examining that I may have fear attached to saying no to something, saying no to myself. So yesterday I talked about saying no to other people. Now I'm talking about saying no to myself. And do I have fear associated with something like thinking that what's going to happen is way bigger than the actual consequence? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I knew that for sure when I was trying to explain to her how I was feeling, and I knew what was coming out of my mouth was just not, it wasn't true. So whatever, and I know that so many of us experience this when we what if. We think of like the worst thing that can possibly happen, and then five different alternative worst things that could happen. And then we're really bracing ourselves for five things that never happen, six things that never happen, however many I just said. So the worst thing that can happen is actually nothing at all. And all I've stolen from myself is peace, my own peace, my own wellness, physical wellness, and my recovery. So this is what I wanted to talk about today. And the best way that I could describe it when I was talking to her was it felt like pressure. It felt like internal pressure, like there was some sort of urgency that I should do it. So we'll just use, I had to use the podcast, but that's what we're going to use because that's when I feel it, I think, more frequently because this is something that I'm committed to on a daily basis. So if I don't, it's called Recovery Daily Podcast, by the way. So when I don't show up for myself, that's what it feels like, that I am letting myself down, that I made a commitment and I'm letting myself down. It's such a perfect example. So that's the one that I need to use. So I feel this internal like urgency that I should do it. I need to do it. And what happens if I don't do it? So intellectually, I know it's not good for my pain, for my fatigue, or my overall wellness. Like we can tell, you and I can tell, when I show up and like yesterday, I lose my place in my head, like I forget what I'm saying. 3 times happened yesterday. And then earlier this week, I don't know if it was Monday, but and I didn't listen back to it, but my brain like actually slows down. I feel it. I feel, to me, I start to feel like I'm on the verge of slurring, because my brain just cannot do anymore. But emotionally, I feel like it's almost harming myself to say no. It's really odd. So my body is saying one thing, but emotionally, that pressure is talking to me way louder than what my body is saying. And isn't that true? Like when I was talking earlier this week about listening to my body, I said that I think I said that there's something that's louder than my body, and I have a hard time listening to my body when my mind and my emotions are telling me something else. So when my mind and my physical wellness disagree, when I'm living with chronic pain, a disability, or limited energy, every decision I make has a cost. And this is the spoon and cup theory. If you haven't heard of the spoon and cup theory, it's like a customized version of spoon theory. But I really felt like when I read about spoon theory that it was leaving out something really important, and that is the emotional side of our recovery when we have a chronic illness. We can't just count spoons. We need to, it's so important to look at how is our cup full or is it empty? Meaning, am I giving myself emotionally what I need on a daily basis? So every decision that I make with this chronic condition that I have has a physical and emotional cost. It's difficult to want to do the thing. I feel like I need to do the thing, but know that I will pay for it. It has a cost. And I juggle these feelings of laziness. I juggle these feelings of weakness, like the psychiatrist said, Rachel, you've proven over and over again that you can do it. But the hard work is not doing it. The hard work is living honestly inside your limitations. And that is, that's the truth. That's the reality of recovery. And it's so hard, it's so hard. So the pressure that I feel isn't the task itself. It's the feelings attached to it. So as we were talking about trying to decipher before I actually looked at the color wheel, trying to decipher if I don't show up, if I don't do a podcast episode one day, am I feeling guilt, fear, shame, obligation, sadness, loneliness? Am I feeling like I need to come here because I'm by myself every day? Do I feel anxiety about it? Do I feel frustration that this is something that I'm committed to, but yet I don't feel well enough to do it? Am I experiencing grief every time I choose to not do the episode? Am I grieving who I used to be? The task itself is only on the surface, but underneath, what I'm feeling is if I don't do this, what does that mean about me? What does that say about me as a person if I don't do it? So this is where the emotion or feeling wheel comes in. And this is naming what's really happening when I choose to not do something because I'm listening to my body. It's a tool to be able to get honest with myself because I can't just listen to my body and choose to follow what my body is telling me to do without having some kind of emotion. I feel bad or I feel pressured. So this color wheel allows me to get more specific. Like, what am I actually feeling right now? Is it guilt? Am I afraid I'm disappointing someone? Am I feeling grief over what I used to be able to do? Do I feel shame about not like having limits and not being able to show up for other people? Is it anxiety about other people's reactions? I can't care for myself. I can't take care of my emotions and my feelings, honestly. I think I talked about one episode, like, what's the difference between a feeling and an emotion? I have to look it up again. I don't know. And it doesn't really matter here. But I can't take care of myself emotionally if I don't name what it is that I'm feeling. And I've been talking about that for the length of this podcast is I need to I need to give it a name because once I name it, then I reduce its power over me. And it allows me I can see myself more clearly. So, what is hidden inside the pressure that I'm feeling? So when I looked at the color wheel, so when I looked at the primary emotions, which are on the inside, I highlighted sadness and fear. So this is what I feel like if I don't do an episode. Now you guys can know exactly how I feel. I can know exactly what I feel like. So we're going to take the sadness route. That means that when I highlight sadness as a primary emotion, what is the secondary emotion? So there's multiple secondary emotions uh, that branch off of, yay, I thought of a word, that branch off of the primary emotion. So the two that I highlighted as secondary emotions that branch off of sadness are, surprise, surprise, sadness. I don't know why they're mirroring each other, but sadness and disappointment. So those are the two things. And then those branch off into tertiary emotions. So the tertiary emotion that branched off of sadness is depression. I think that's fascinating. And the tertiary emotion that branches off of disappointment is displeased. And when I say displeased, I don't know, it makes me laugh because it seems like such a gentle way of saying that I'm unhappy, you know? Um, I can really identify with these two tertiary emotions. So when I don't do a podcast, I feel depressed. There's there's a feeling of depression that I can't do what I want to do, which is the same as I'm unhappy, right? A little bit. I mean, I feel like depression is more in my core, and displeased is more on the surface. Like I connect being displeased to somebody saying, "No, you can't have the last Twinkie." Depression is, you can't go with us to King's Dominion. That makes sense to me, but it feels like um displeased is what I feel like when I'm a child and I don't get what I want. And depressed feels like, here's the reality, Rachel. You're not going to get what you want a lot because you can't do it. So this is what I feel like. And as I look at these emotions, sometimes I feel like it's very melodramatic what I'm talking about, how I feel in certain situations, but I can't stress enough that this is real. I know some people don't feel that much. Like, I'm just a very emotional person. And I've learned just from interacting with certain people in my life that I feel more. I just simply feel more. Um, it doesn't mean that these people are don't care. And because that's what I thought. I thought, like, well, does that mean they just don't care as much? But I don't think that's true. I think my emotions really block me a little more from my emotions are very interactive with my behavior, while other people, I don't think it is. I don't think that their emotions dictate their behavior as much. I don't know. That's just kind of what I feel like. Okay, so the other primary emotion that I highlighted for when I don't do a podcast episode is fear. And I really hesitated to highlight fear, but when I stopped and thought about it, I was like, well, what am I afraid of? Is there something I'm afraid of? And I thought, yeah, because what I told you guys earlier is I'm afraid that other people aren't going to feel like I'm following through with my commitment, that I'm not there for them. So, the secondary emotion that branches off from fear that I highlighted is nervous. I have a tendency to default into nervousness, and that's what I feel. This discomfort right underneath the surface of my skin is nervousness. That's what I feel like. And it's easily triggered. If The most obvious example is if I've been asked to do public speaking, there is this nervousness. It doesn't run deep. It's not like it's impacting my behavior. Like, I'm not going to not do something because I'm nervous, but it does lie right underneath my skin to the point where if it's triggered enough, I'll shake. So the tertiary emotion that branches off of nervousness is I'm anxious and worried. So that resonates with me, that when I don't do an episode, I'm anxious that people, you, not people, you will, excuse me, will decide that you don't want to show up here anymore. You don't want to be a part of this community anymore. And I'm worried that I will negatively impact somebody else by not doing my podcast. I know it seems unreasonable, but these are the things that I really feel. So now that I know what it is that I'm feeling, I can actually address them. You know, I feel a sense of responsibility. That's not a bad thing. Um, but I'm reacting to that. And instead of instead of letting myself get too tied up in, well, I'm not who I used to be. I wish I could still do the things that I used to be able to do. I want to be seen as a responsible person. You know, the life that I thought I was going to have, I don't have anymore. Thinking these catastrophic thoughts simply because I'm doing what's best for me and my body on a certain day is unreasonable, right? It's a small decision to not do a podcast, but the emotional response that I have is huge. So saying no to myself, Rachel, you can't do a podcast today, it can feel like a lot more than what it really is. Um, it can feel like a lot more in my mind than just uh, I feel a little let's see, nervous that I'm impacting somebody else, or I'm disappointed. It goes deeper than that for me. So feeling like I'm afraid that I'm disappointing other people, that I'm not reliable, that people will stop listening. People, you will stop listening, that you will be upset with me. Um, I'm going to start feeling left out because this is one of my ways of connecting with people. And this is my purpose. Um, this is a purposeful way of living that I have created for myself. So if I don't show up on any given day for an episode, I feel useless. You know, I'm letting my life pass me by. All I can do is sleep. And then what happens, right? I get underneath the covers and then I start feeling these feelings start transforming themselves into something far more impactful than what they really are. So when I can reframe these feelings of worry and anxiousness and feeling of depression and being displeased, when I can reframe that to the worst thing that can happen is nothing, that feared consequence will never come, but the I can beat I can think ahead, be ahead of that, right? I can prepare myself for catastrophizing, telling myself from the very beginning, okay, you don't feel well. You're not having an easy time with words today. So you're not going to do the podcast. No one's going to be mad. No one's going to notice as much as I notice. Life is going to keep moving. Um, Everyone's day is going to keep happening without me, and the world is not going to punish me for resting. You know, the real shock is nothing. There's no disaster. It's just an ordinary day where I chose myself my body, my wellness, and my recovery. So nothing's going to collapse. And I I like to remember when I start feeling a little bit like I'm letting people down or something like that, that I created this space for myself because I needed it. Um, I felt like there was nobody else in the world that felt these feelings in recovery, like not being able to come up with words and my head hurting 24/7 and feeling uncomfortable all the time. I created this space so that I could talk about it because, again, intellectually, I knew I wasn't unique. I'm not the only one who has ever felt this way. So I created this space so that I could talk about it and hopefully other people could relate. And when when nothing's happening in my life, I emotionally, like, it's so loud still. The emotions between my ears are so, or the thought, are our emotions between our ears? I don't know. That's something to think about. Are really loud. And I'm used to equating my my activity with my worth. Um, like being successful and accomplishing things, proving myself and earning like this worth, this self-worth. So when I opt out, I'm left alone with myself. Um, and that emptiness and restlessness can start like expanding and blowing themselves up like a balloon into something just consuming for me. So when my pressure says, like that pressure says, you need to do it, just do it now. Just get it over with. Just do the episode now. You should do it. A good person would do it. A caring person would do it. Like, don't disappoint anyone. Um, I need to look at this color wheel and think, this is your emotions are talking louder than your body is speaking to you. You do not have the capacity to do this today. You are already in pain and having a hard time talking today. If you do this, it will cost you. And do you have the spoons to do it? Do you have spoons? Yes. Is my cup full? Well, maybe there's another way to fill my cup today. And the episode is not it. For those of you who follow me on Facebook and Instagram, I have chosen the past couple days to make some kitty cat toys for my little grand kitty cats. And I used a couple old sweatshirts that were going to go to Goodwill, and I used them to create some Easter kitty cat toys. So I made some little bunnies, I made a little carrot, and and I made little bags to put them in. And these are for my kids and their kitty cats. So there is another way to fill my cup. And resting is responsible. That's the truth. Not everything that matters is visible to other people, right? I mean, look at my disability and my pain. That matters the most to me. And it is invisible to other people. It matters the most to me. So learning how to tell the difference between um, what what is good for me and what am I doing and what is bad for me, right? Simply put. So the first thing, how do I analyze the pressure that I feel when I'm right face to face with the decision that I need to make and um, my body is telling me don't do it and my emotions are telling me to do it. What do I do? I bet you know the answer because the same answer was yesterday and the same answer is almost every day. Pause. I don't have to figure it out right away. I don't have to, just like when somebody else is asking us to do something and we know that we need to say no, it's the same thing. When I'm asking myself to do something and I know that I shouldn't do it, but I want to do it, I need to pause and create that space between the ask and the response. So pause is number one. Number two is to identify the feeling. Get out a color wheel. It might sound ridiculous, but I'm telling you, the color wheel for emotions is so helpful for me. And as somebody who's a very emotional person, to be able to name it and then have like that mother in me that talks to the child in me say, what are you actually feeling? And what does being afraid mean? What do you think will happen? And talk through. So identify the feeling. And then three is what is the story that that feeling is telling you? Um, what story are you creating in your head? And then actually check that story against my body and the reality. What is this story going to cost me physically? What is it going to cost me emotionally? Likely, I'm spending more energy during that pause trying to figure out, like, should I listen to my body or should I listen to my emotions? I'm spending more energy in that battle than I would be if I just responded, right? If I just pause, identify the emotion, check it against reality, and say, what does my wellness need right now? And then make that decision that honors my recovery. Like, decide from the truth, not my emotions, decide from the truth. And that is when I will honor my recovery. And the decision may not quiet the discomfort right away, but it's certainly, I think, a nice way of just walking through the decision to listen to my body and not to my emotions and actually care for them, actually care for my emotions and do something about them, talk to them, settle them. Instead of what I do when I don't do a podcast is I'm like, oh, I'm letting everybody down. I'm a terrible person. I'm a failure today. It's true. I'm a failure today if I don't do the episode. And then I walk through the rest of the day with that as part of my day. And I don't deserve that. So I think this is a great plan. I'm going to talk to my psychiatrist about it next Wednesday. And it's a great way to let reality be reality and stop fighting, whether it's sobriety, stroke recovery, chronic pain, disability. Like, the peace, the serenity comes from not fighting, not resisting. there's enough suffering in the condition itself. So why am I giving myself extra suffering by pretending that I don't have the condition? Saying no is the most honest thing that I can do for myself. And I deserve to trust myself. And I can do that by getting more familiar with my emotions and what's attached to the decisions that I make. So that's what I have. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you next time.